We'd like to go ahead and invite Senator Chuck Gray and Representative Russell Pierce and Representative Eddie Farnsworth to please come up here. And we have Senator Gray here, so let's begin with him, and then we'll just go right down the line.
Well, it's a great crowd. It's great to be here. This is great information, and I appreciate all that has been shown to us today and for the opportunity to get that. I took down a lot of notes on the websites where I can get additional information. Some of you may be confused by the signs. These are old signs that were found in my shed, and those are from when I was in the house. I am Senator Chuck Gray, and
I guess we'll get to questions asked, because I certainly want to spend more time on the budget. But right now, I just want to tell you who I am. I'm Russell Pierce. I'm the chairman of the House Appropriations Committee. My job is to be the gatekeeper, not the gift giver, and we'll work on that. And again, I'm going to run for the Senate. I'm going to try to fill Karen Johnson's shoes. Not sure anybody can do that, but I'm going to run for the Senate and hopefully continue this battle that we have. And then we'll get to the issues later. I just want to introduce myself, make sure everybody knows who we are.
I'm not sure if you're clapping because he was ending or I'm beginning, but I'm Eddie Farnsworth. I'm serving in my 4th term in the State House, and I currently serve as the Judiciary Chairman, and I represent Gilbert and part of Mesa, out to Gold Canyon, probably Apache Junction. I would be considered one of the right-wingers down at the Capitol, and I'm proud of it.
That's great.
Anybody got a question? I think now's the time to fire it up.
What's happening with Real ID?
Thank you.
What's happening with it is nothing. It's a federal issue. We're passing a bill. In fact, Karen Johnson has one, and I think Andy Biggs has one bill that would prevent Arizona from being a part of the Real ID. Just to comment on that, I can tell you, I do believe we have an obligation for secure ID, but it's a state's issue. We have an obligation to make sure if you get state identification that we can count on that being you. We can count on you having a right to it, but we have no business having a federal ID card or sanctioned by the feds. These are states' issues. But anyway, I think those bills are moving forward. I don't know what's going to happen with them, but they are moving forward at this point. Hopefully the state will recognize this responsibility to our citizens and end it there.
Russell, Oklahoma shut Real ID down.
Several states are introducing legislation.
Shut it down.
I think at least a dozen, if not more.
Yes, Russell, you said you were for a state ID, but it have a chip in it, and how could you prevent the Fed from
Never said that. This has nothing to do with chips. This has to do with secure ID. That's based on when you go to the motor vehicle division, you get a driver's license, state ID card, that you would make that their job is to make sure you are who you say you are, and that's with presenting the right documentation. As you know, we have a legal presence requirement in the state of Arizona, and that means that you have to present verifiable kinds of identification to know who you are in order to get that. The most used form of identification to commit fraud is a driver's license, and then second is a birth certificate. So all I'm saying is that, again, as a state, we have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that indicia that is issued by the state is indeed, the requirements in order to obtain it are indeed the kind of requirements that will protect others who are going to accept that identification, that you are who you say you are, you have a right to have it, you're in the country legally, all the things that we think are important. But it's a state issue. It has nothing to do with the chip. Anything else, that's part of the Real ID Act. It has nothing to do with what we're doing in Arizona, what I support. Again, I promoted it. I wrote the bill in 1996 to require that sort of thing. The problem is it needs to be tightened up. We have some problems, as you know, in the state as well as other states with fraudulent use of IDs or the obtaining of IDs.
What we want to make sure happens with the Arizona ID is that it does not, the information does not go into a national database. We want that database to stay only here in Arizona and to be accessed only through people that have to get into it here in Arizona, not by Canada, Mexico, and other.
And you're united in saying no to the chip then?
4 of you.
Oh, yeah.
Is that correct?
I don't-
We've already chipped Russell just so we can keep track. But the answer is yes.
The rhinos, along with the Democrats, are the ones that are pushing to implement the real ID. The governor also signed an agreement with the Department of Homeland Security to put us into the Trusted Traveler Initiative, the 3-in-1 driver's license, the real ID. And she has no right to do that, because that's going to cost money, which means that the Arizona legislature is the one that appropriates the money for that. And there is a bill out there to do that, which is absolutely not going to make it, because we don't have any money in the budget at all to do anything like that. That's the only good thing about being in deficit, is we don't have the money to implement the real ID.